So today we're going to go over the shoulder stand, Sarvangasana, and the plow, the bridge, and the wheel. And just this, what we call the shoulder stand cycle that we do in many of our classes. So we have, the student is starting off in Shavasana, make sure that they're relaxed. And then the general instructions for coming up into the shoulder stand is to bring the legs together, bring the hands by the side, and then as they inhale, they lift up the legs, lift up the hips, and support the back. And generally, you want to make sure that their feet are relaxed. Look for any tension here. If they're holding tension here, they're probably holding tension other places in the body. And just have them take a few breaths and relax. Make sure their neck is relaxed and comfortable. The shoulders are relaxed. And then they can come up, they want a little bit higher onto the shoulders. So they can bend the knees towards the chest, and they bring the elbows in tighter and bring the hands down towards the shoulder blades and come back up. Now the posture should be balanced. Okay? So they shouldn't be holding a lot of tension or needing a lot of tension to hold it in. We'll go over some, if people can't come up so high or so well. And so the general instructions while they're holding, they keep the eyes closed and the face relaxed. Keep the breath steady and rhythmic. Keep the body without tension. And just to focus on the breath and to breathe. So the benefits of the shoulder stand, it's the inverted posture. Whenever we're in an inverted posture, we have an increase of blood flow from the legs because the gravity is in the opposite direction. That means through the veins, we have more blood coming back to the heart. The heart fills more, and then when the heart contracts, the cardiac output is increased. So we get an increase of circulation just simply by doing this inversion here. It also tends to increase circulation around the thyroid gland. Traditionally, we say that it helps to balance the function of the thyroid gland. When we have an increase in blood flow to any region of the body, it means that we're getting more nutrients to those organs and that we are eliminating more toxins and waste products from the area. So generally, if we were going to be going through a cycle here, what we would do is have her inhale, and as she exhales, bring the right leg down behind the head. Try to keep this leg up straight and inhale the leg up and exhale the right leg down slowly and with the breath, always with control. So exhale the right leg down, right leg down quickly, and inhale up and exhale the left leg down slowly and inhale up and slowly bring both legs down towards halasana, the plow posture. So in the plow posture, see that she's turned her feet towards her head, and she can even take a step or two towards her head, a little bit coming forward. And then what you want to look for an advanced student, someone that can do it very well, is that they've got the back up nice and straight, the legs are straight, and the arms are straight behind her, and the hands down on the floor. If she's feeling very good and her neck is comfortable, she can clasp the fingers behind her back and straighten the arms out. That'll tend to put them higher up on the shoulder. So you only want somebody that's feeling very comfortable to do this. Don't let people feel pressured into trying this if they're not feeling comfortable with their neck. You want to keep the neck comfortable. So in this posture, it's a little more, they're a little higher on the shoulders, so a little more pressure on the neck. And we're also decreasing how much volume they can bring into their lungs with the breath. So the breath is going to be a little more shallow, but we still want them to keep that same slow rhythmic breath. So it's more of an internal breath. So it's moving the prana in a little bit different way when they're holding this posture. And when you're doing it, you can just really look for that while you're holding it. Some people will try to start breathing more rapidly, but if you keep it that same rhythmic breath, you'll see the difference in the change of how it affects the prana in the body. How you feel. Then bringing the hands to the back. You're going to bring the legs up, And come back up into the shoulder stand. And then you can walk over into the bridge posture, Setu Bandhasana, the bridge building pose. And to build the bridge, we want a nice long bridge. So she's going to walk her feet away from her and keep the hips up, keep the legs close together. Okay? You can walk your feet back just a little. I want your feet flat enough. There we go. So the instruction here is just to make sure the thumbs are on the outside. You don't want to have the thumbs on the inside like this. You're likely to sprain your thumbs. So the thumbs are on the outside. So it's either hands are either in this position or they can be like this. So either the fingers pointed towards each other or the palms or the fingers parallel with the body. The general instructions, keep the hips up. So it's almost like you're pressing the hips up and keeping the chest towards the chin. Very good. Now she can bring the hands back, walk the feet in a little bit, and bring the hands underneath the shoulders before you come up. Just a few instructions. Always check that the student has both feet and both hands on the same surface. You don't want them to have their feet on a mat and their hands on the floor. They can slip, or the mat may slip. Right? So you want to make sure everything is on the same surface, preferably on the mat. And then pushing, you're going to come up into the chakrasana, the wheel posture. Very nice. And so ideally the hands are straight. I'm not going to do any variations right now on this, but just to see that she's holding it very nicely. So here we're getting more of an arch in the back. The neck is able to come back rather than being pressed as it is in the shoulder stand and the plow and the bridge. And now we can have them come down. Keep the chin towards the chest, shoulders on the floor, hips up. And they bring the hands back underneath, and they can kick back up into the shoulder stand. Okay. Okay. Maybe come up a little bit higher than they were before if their neck is feeling comfortable. And then to come out of the shoulder stand, the general method is to lower the legs about 45 degrees behind the head, hands to the floor, and roll out onto your back, one vertebra at a time. And then to relax in Shavasana. Now let them take a couple of breaths. Make sure the neck is relaxed, shoulders are relaxed. Relax the back. And then because she's done that whole cycle, I'm going to have her do the fish as the counter pose to that. So you can bring the legs together, arms straight, Matsyasana, the fish. Bring the arms underneath the body, really like you're trying to hide the elbows. Okay? So the chest is already open here, and the arms are straight, so they're reaching and they're touching past the buttocks, touching the thighs with the fingertips. And then to come up, they're going to press and bring the top of the head gently to the floor. So again, when she pressed, she kept her head back and she brought her chest up towards the ceiling. The chest is open, feet and legs are relaxed. And if you're going to do any adjustments in here, what you're going to want to do is you're going to use one hand and you're going to slip it between the arm and the back. All right? So if I was on this side, I would be slipping it in here, like that. I'll use one hand, and again, just using the tips of my finger, right at the point between the shoulder blades, and then I can use this hand just to gently bring her head back a little bit, or to guide her head back that way, if they need some encouragement to come up a little bit higher. But she's got a very nice posture. She's got her shoulders open. And the instruction here, breathing instructions would be deep breaths. Okay? But each time she inhales, she wants to really bring it up into the chest. So she does the abdominal breath, then the thoracic breath, really opening the chest up. And that's going to bring the shoulders back farther. And then exhaling very slowly without collapsing. So in this posture, you can feel each time you inhale like you're going deeper and deeper into the posture. It's pulling you into it. When we're in this posture, again, counter stretch for the neck, going in the opposite direction. But we're also, with the chest open, we're bringing in lots of air. There's little resistance, and so we're using the open chest and the open airways to bring in a lot of air and do a lot of exchange of air. Then to have them come out, you have them lift up their head, roll down onto their body, onto the back, legs apart, palms up away from the body, and just to relax in the position. If they would like to, if they feel any tension, they can just roll the head gently to the right, and then slowly roll it over to the left, and back to center, and to relax in there. Thank you very much. So now that we've seen the cycle, I would like to go over some details of coming into the postures and also what we would do in different cases of someone having trouble in the postures. Narayan. Have the Ryan with the shoulder stand. Okay. Go ahead and lay down. So we're going to pretend that Narayan has come to me before class and has mentioned that I have a little stiffness in my neck, or I don't feel comfortable when I come up on my shoulders, or my vertebra, that vertebra right where my neck ends, always feels too much pressure on the floor. Whenever somebody talks about too much pressure on the head or too much pressure on the neck, a lot of times they think, oh, I want to put a cushion under my head. That will make it feel better. But what it actually does is it actually lifts the head up higher, creating more pressure. So what we want to do is to lift the shoulders up a little bit. And so one of the things we can do is I just have him sit up. And I'm going to put this blanket down here. Make sure it's smooth, and he can lie down. And you want it lined up so that the blanket is right at the level of the shoulders. And you also want to make sure that when he's up in the shoulder stand, that from the shoulder to the elbow is all going to be on the same level. So the blanket should be long enough so that all of this is on the same level on the blanket, but his head is a little bit lower. And you notice this isn't a very thick blanket. You often don't need more than just half an inch, or even a quarter of an inch will make people feel better if they can come up. Right? So he brings the legs together, hands by the side. Inhaling, lift up the legs, lift up the hips, support the back, and come up into the shoulder stand. Right? Relax your feet. Just relax the ankles there. Now, let's say that he wasn't comfortable coming up this high. Can you come down just a little? That's it. That's it. All right. So some people can't come all the way up on their shoulders. Again, and I wouldn't try to pull them into it. But one of the mistakes they make, this is not going to be comfortable, is they try to do this. They try to straighten their legs out. But this creates a lot of tension, and it doesn't have any benefit, really. So what you want them to do is find a balanced place. A place where they feel, so they're going to bring the head, because the hips are back here, center of gravity is further back, we're going to try to balance it by bringing the feet this way. So we bring the center of gravity back towards over the elbows here. And then he can relax. He can relax the face. He can have relaxed breathing. So again, one of the problems when people have too much tension in the body is that a lot of the tension comes from the abdominal muscles. And if you have your abdominal muscles are tense and you're using them to hold your posture, what can't you do well? You can't breathe well. Exactly. So we want to have the abdominal muscles relaxed so we can bring that air deep into the lungs. Right? So he's in a nice balanced pose here. Feel good? Good. All right. So if someone's like this, should they do the plow posture? Sure. They may not be able to go all the way into the plow. They may not look as straight as the picture in the book, but they can still do the plow to the best of their ability. So you just have them, again, we'd probably start with bringing one leg down as you exhale and inhale the leg up. And same with the left leg down. And inhale the leg up. And then bring both legs down as far as you can. So he's going to pretend like he can't come down all the way. But let's say that's as far as he feels he can come down. Why would they not be able to come down any further? One reason would be that the hamstring muscles are too tight. It could be that the back muscles are too tight. It could be he doesn't want to put any more pressure on the neck. But this is perfectly fine. But when they can't bring their toes to the floor, we have them keep their hands on the back. And we should even encourage them, put some of the weight of the body into your hands. Because a lot of students, if it's because of tightness, will try to press with their hands to try to push their feet towards the floor. But what happens is that they're just putting too much pressure on the neck, because your neck's not supposed to give that much. It's supposed to give more here. But if he just holds like this, then he can keep the leg straight and he can breathe. So we don't want them to put the hands flat on the floor behind the back as we did before, because then all of the weight is being held by the neck. And so this way the hands are taking some of the weight and it's protecting the neck. Whenever we're doing this, always remember that we're trying to get people to feel comfortable and safe and in control. So don't encourage them to push into these postures. You just have them find where they're comfortable and hold. And as he holds like this, what's going to happen is over time, he's going to stretch out. And if he keeps practicing well, then he may be able to eventually bring the legs down further. Okay? Again, this is elapsed photography. This has been a couple of weeks now. And we see how he's getting more and more stretched out, and he's able to get closer and closer to the floor. But again, he's doing the same thing. Until the feet touch the floor, he's keeping some of the weight in the hands. If he can bring the feet to the floor, then the weight would be evenly distributed between the arms, the neck, and the feet. But now he's going to keep some of the weight in the hands. All right? And then to come out, again, he's going to bring his hands to the floor, keep it at a 45-degree angle there. And if he's nice and balanced, this should be comfortable to hold. And just roll onto the back, one vertebra at a time. And relax on his back in Shavasana with the legs apart, palms up away from the body. Very good. Okay. Now, what if he wasn't even comfortable coming up that high? Okay. Let's say somebody comes and says, like, I got a really bad neck. Right? I was just in a car accident. I think I got whiplash. Doesn't even have to be that severe, okay? But just like some problem with the neck, what would we have them do? That's right. So you can just bring the legs together and just lift the legs up. Okay? And just to hold the leg straight. And then you just have them bring the hands up and just grab hold of the leg. Just be comfortable where the arms can be relaxed. And just to help support the legs like that. And they can hold this. This is fine. Because again, we're still getting some of that benefit of the inverted posture. We're increasing the flow of blood from the feet and the lower legs back to the trunk of the body. And while we're doing the plow, they can do things like just bring the right leg back a little bit and forward, left leg back and forward. Right? And just to, if they want to do it more, in that stretching vein, okay, just like that, and holding. And pressing with the heels, that's it. And then relaxing, okay? And then coming onto their back and relax. All right. Okay, thank you. So now we'll go over the bridge posture, Setu Bandhasana. So first I'm going to have Sham come up into the bridge posture, come to the bridge posture from the shoulder stand, Sarvangasana. Okay. Yeah, go up into the shoulder stand. That's it. feet relaxed. Everyone's pointing their toes. There you go. And you can either walk over 1 foot at a time, or you can come over both feet together. So he's doing this walking over, very nice and smooth, brings the feet together. You bring the knees together a little bit more. That's it. And just breathe. So he's going to, again, be pushing the hips up, pushing the chest towards the chin, and breathing in that posture. So it's very easy for him to walk over. You saw like how nicely he can walk over. Now, can you come down onto the floor for a moment? So what if somebody can't walk over that way? They don't feel comfortable, or they don't feel like they have enough strength or enough flexibility to the back to walk over like that? What you would do is have them come down onto the floor. So they look like their legs are together, hands by the side. And then they would just put their feet on the floor and push their hips up and take hold of their back with their hands. Support their back like this. All right? So this is the easy way. And you'll have a lot of students that don't feel comfortable bringing their feet out further. Right? They're putting more of the bend is here because of the knees, is lifting the hips up rather than have it being the bend in the back. And it also takes a little less strength in this posture. So when we're doing this posture, it's a bit of a backward bend. It's still doing that posture that's holding the blood flow, increasing the blood flow in the region of the thyroid glands or in the neck region. And now if you wanted to come up into the wheel from here, a deeper back bend, right, he can bring his hands underneath and push himself up. See if he can come up. All right. So he can't come up as high. He can't bring his arms as straight, but it's still a nice wheel. And we just have him hold as long as he can and come back down. Go ahead and come down. All right. And just, you can hug the knees to your chest for a moment. That's it. Just roll a little from side to side. And then relax for a moment. So in that position, he came up into the wheel. Did you notice that he had his knees bent, his feet closer to his hips, and his feet apart a little bit? So I want you to try it again with your feet closer together, just so that you can see what happens. My friend, I think I know what's going to happen. I'm doing this on purpose. All right. It's harder to come up, huh? Oh, he did make it. Very good. Did it very wisely. Okay, go ahead and come down again. So sometimes I had Sham do this because he said there was a maybe he could come up into the wheel today. So if you have a student that's having trouble coming up into the wheel, often it's easier for them if their legs are apart further. Okay, it takes the pressure off of the lower back. We know from other postures that we've done that it's harder to bend the lower back when the feet are together or the legs are close together. So if somebody's trying to do the wheel and they've got their feet too close together, if you just have them separated, they'll find that it's easier to come up, or they can come up further. So it's okay if they just try to push the hips up and they can't lift the head up. That's okay, they just keep trying every time. Again, don't encourage people to try, don't push them to do something that they're not comfortable doing. But we encourage people to go into postures as far as they can comfortably in there. Okay, very nicely, thank you. What I would like to do now is talk about coming from the shoulder stand to the bridge and up into the wheel a little bit again, just to go over it one more time. So bring the legs together and come up onto the shoulders. Take a few breaths. And I want you to come over into the plow. Very comfortable. And again, pushing the heels back, pushing the hips up. So we want to imagine the lines of the plow. Plow, very sharp instrument, very sharp angles. So we have straight legs, straight back, straight arms, and sharp angles. Even if the student isn't coming all the way over into the plow or doesn't look this straight and sharp, we should encourage them to visualize this, because that's part of the visualization of this posture. Now, I want to put the hands on the back, and from here, just walk over, straight over into the bridge pose from here. So just one foot and then the other, and coming over, and walking the feet away. Again, nice long bridge. So again, from this bridge pose, it's got a nice long bridge, and if I say to come up into the wheel, I'm going to bring the hands underneath the shoulders. I'm just going to do that for a moment. He's going to bring the hands underneath the shoulders. And I'm going to see where he puts his feet, where he feels comfortable putting his feet, because you'll see that every student feels different. So he's going to bring his feet much closer and push himself up. Very good. And you're going to keep the hips up. Try to straighten the arms if you can. That's it. And breathe. And then coming down, bringing your shoulders to the floor and hands underneath. Don't come out. Keep your hips up so like you're in the bridge pose. Okay. And then you can kick up, back up into the shoulder stand. Very good. And take a few breaths. And then we can do a variation on the plow. You can just bring the legs over the head. And in this variation, he's going to reach back with the hands and take hold of his toes. And what happens when he's in this variation? What did you see happen? So the neck is a little looser, right? And his hips come back a little bit, and it's a little bit of a curve in the lower back. So this is kind of a nice stretch to do sometimes if you've been doing a lot of variations in the bridge. There's kind of a little bit of a counter pose to the bridge and the wheel, and just a little bit of a counter pose and stretch of the back in there. And then we can sneak in a leg lift here. You just have them keep the hands behind the head and roll onto the back one vertebra at a time. Keeping the face relaxed, that's good. And lowering the legs. And he relaxes in Shavasana from there. Very good. And you can roll the head a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left. Bring it back to center. And relax. Okay. So now we can go over some of the other variations we can do. So one of the nice things about the shoulder stand cycle is there's lots of other variations we can do in there, and again, depending on the level of the students that we have. Everybody can do parts of the shoulder stand cycle, can do it to a certain extent. But it's nice when we have advanced students, we can do lots of more fun things with it, right? So bring the legs together, hands by the side, and inhaling, lift up the legs, lift up the hips, support the back up into the shoulder stand. I always encourage more advanced students, they know their body better. You saw how she put her hands behind her back and pulled herself up immediately. With other students, or if I don't know the students well, I always encourage them to just take a moment here to make sure they're relaxed. And I would actually look, if they have tension on their face or it looks like too much tension in the body, make sure that that's gone, that they feel relaxed, and then have them come up higher on the shoulders so that they know their bodies well. So you can come up as high as you can on the shoulders. If you want to bring the knees to the forehead, you just bring the knees to the forehead to demonstrate coming up on the shoulders a little bit more. And see how she straightens herself out and then comes up. And I'm going to have her come over into the plow. And again, she turns the toes towards the head. She pushes the hips up. She pushes the heels back. And she's got the arms. Again, those nice straight lines of the plow in here. Takes a few breaths. So again, the breath is going to be slow, a little bit more shallow, but still doing that slow rhythmic breathing. Then hands on the back. And can you come over to the bridge with both feet? Can you bring the hands to the back? And just comes over and lets herself come over with control and walks her feet out. A nice long bridge. And breathing, so chest towards the chin, hips up. And now we do something that's very impressive, but it's actually easier than the bridge itself, but it's a very impressive variation. As you bend the right knee, and bring it towards the chest and bring the legs up and straighten the leg up. For some students, this is easier because it takes some of the pressure off of the lower back. And you bring the leg down, the same thing with the left leg. Up and back down. And from here, she can come up into the wheel. Again, she brings her feet back a little bit and comes up. And then the same variations we did in the bridge, she can do here. So she can bring the right knee up and straighten the leg up and down. Left leg up and down. Can you bring your right hand to your right hip? Very good. And back. Left hand to the left hip just for balance. And back. And again, coming down. And come into the bridge from here. The bridge, yeah. So you want hands underneath. So hands on the back. That's it. And then she's going to come from the bridge. She's going to have to walk her feet back a little bit, and she's going to, as smoothly as she can, come over into the plow, just very gently and slowly coming into the plow. And you can even have students, if they're comfortable, doing that a couple of times. So keep the hands on the back, hands on your back. And I want you to come back to the bridge and back to the plow again. Yeah, the bridge, and then back to the plow again. That's it, very good. Mm-hmm. And you can hold this position for a minute, or if you'd like, you can take hold of your toes with your hands and just do that little bit of a stretch there, that plow variation, and breathe and relax. So when we're doing that, coming back and forth, right? So it's an exercise for the abdominal muscles and the back muscles, and it does a nice strengthening of those muscles and also stretching. Going back and forth between the stretch and contraction, alternating with your stretch and contracted. And she can roll out onto her back and relax. Legs apart, palms up away from the body. Take a couple of breaths. Thank you. We're going to do a couple of other variations in the plow and the shoulder stand. And Swamiji can bring the legs together, hands underneath the body, and coming up into the shoulder stand. So here he has his shoulder stand. And there's a few variations we can do in this one. We can do the shoulder stand in half lotus or in full lotus. Notice here. You do the half lotus. And if you're doing this, you can also do the half plow in half lotus. So you can bring the foot over. And then bring the foot up. And then changing sides. So again, you may have them do that a few times or hold it for a little bit longer. And then coming over. Taking a few breaths. And coming up. Very good. Now, the other thing we can do is coming over into the bridge, or into the plow. So we can have, keeping the hands on the back, and have him walk over to the right, little tippy toe steps, and then drop his knees so they're next to his ear, over there. And then straightening the legs and take little tippy toe steps over to the left and drop the knees and then straightening the legs and then back to center. And then we're going to have them separate the legs a little bit. So you want to make sure these are a little straight, a little crooked here. There we go. So now you can separate the legs and drop the knees on either side of the ears. This is Karnapidasana, the ears to knees pose. And you see what he did with his hands. He brought the hands up over the back of the legs, back of the knees, and he put, like you're trying to, don't want to hear me. You put your hands over the ears. Right? So this is a very tight lock. Remember we talked about when you come over into the plow that you've made it a more shallow breath just by the compression. So what do you think the breath's like here? So it's going to be a very shallow breath. But again, a lot of students will think that they should start breathing faster. That will be the natural tendency, but we want to just keep the breath very slow and rhythmic. Okay, and you're going to feel a change in how you feel the energy moving in the body when you do that. So it's more of an internal breathing. The prana is moving more internally than the external manifestation of the movement. Very good. And then again, straightening the legs out. Hands on the lower back. And you can bring the legs up. You want to do a bridge? Just as a stretch. Very good. And again, he's going to make a nice long bridge. Very good. And you can have him bring one knee up and straighten the leg up. And back to the floor. Very nice. Left knee to the chest. Straighten the leg up. And back to the floor. And now both legs up. Very good. And to come out, we're just going to lower the legs a little bit behind the head. Hands to the floor like brakes. And roll out onto the back, one vertebra at a time, and relax in Shavasana. Thank you very much. So thank you for watching. Today we've covered the shoulder stand cycle, including the plow, the bridge, the wheel, and some of the basic variations that we do in the intermediate and more advanced classes. I hope to see you next time.